This Torah class is brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.
Here in Padua, where these are streets that the Ramchal walked, likely the Ramchal prayed in this synagogue, and we're going to play a little game. Okay, Rabbi Salanter once remarked, it's easy to write a book like the Noid Yehuda, it's much harder to write even one page of Mesilat Yesharim. Or Rabbi Yosef Zundel of Salant once asked Reb Chaim Volozhiner which sefer he should learn. Chaim Volozhiner said, all Sifrei Musar Kodesh, Mesilas Yesharim, Kodesh Kadashim. You could even make the case, perhaps, of any sefer ever written after the time of the Gemara, maybe the Shulchan Aruch. The most influential sefer in the history of the Jewish people is Mesilas Yesharim. Now, we mentioned Mesilas Yesharim had a hard time here in Italy. He was put into cherem, primarily by the chief rabbi of Venice, Rabbi Yitzchak Pacifico. Now, Rabbi Yitzchak Pacifico was a heavyweight rabbi. When the Orach Chaim HaKadosh came to Italy, he got a haskama on Orach Chaim HaKadosh from Rabbi Yitzchak Pacifico. Rabbi Yosef Irgaz opposed the Ramchal. The rabbi of Alcona, if you on the outside of the shul you see the names, are all Morporgo. Rab Shamshin Morporgo also opposed the Ramchal. So Ramchal is looking for respite. The first time he has respite in his life is he comes to Amsterdam, because in Venice they were roidif him. In Frankfurt they were roidif him. He finally comes to Amsterdam, and the plan was not to ever publish Mesilat Yesharim. It was not in the cards. Why? He said, Dayenu, it's enough already. Every book he writes, he's just asking for trouble. They just want to harm him. They just want to kill him. So he wrote it, and he said he's going to live in peace. He had no plan to publish it. Now everything is, of course, min hashamayim. And the Ramchal comes to Amsterdam, and he meets two good friends in Amsterdam. Their names were Rabbi Yaakov Bashan and Rav David Mildula. Now, Rav David Mildula was the son of Rav Rafael Mildula. Rav Rafael Mildula was the chief rabbi of Livorno. He's buried in Livorno. Maybe we'll find his kever when we go to Livorno. So, by the way, Rav Yosef Irgaz is also buried in Livorno, was one of the chief opponents of Shabtai Tzvi. Rav David Mildula, Shal Setchuvois, Divrei David. They become very close with the Ramchal. And the Ramchal had just written Mesilat Yesharim with no plans of publishing it. And the Ramchal gets wind that his friend, Rav David Mildula, was publishing a new manuscript on Tshuva. So Rav David Mildula said, I'm writing a book on Tshuva. I heard, Ramchal, that you wrote Sefer Musar. Maybe would it be okay if I see it? Ramchal says, why do you want to see it? He said, I don't know, because I'm writing a book on Tshuva. And maybe you preempted me. Maybe once you wrote your book, my book will become obsolete. Do me a favor, I would like to look at your new sefer. So the Mesilas Yesharim, maybe against his better judgment, he gave the manuscript of Mesilas Yesharim to Rav David Mildula. Rav David Mildula is nespoil. He said, why in the world would I ever write my book? After your book, my book is secondary, my book is subpar. Why would I ever publish my book? And the Ramchal said, the reason you're going to publish your book is because I will not publish Mesilas Yesharim. You want to publish it, you can publish your book. You don't want to publish it, don't publish it. But I am not publishing Mesilas Yesharim. And they begged him, and they cajoled him, and they pressured him, and they pressured him, and they pressured him. And finally, the Ramchal said, by the way, many of the Ramchal's manuscripts not only were not published, they were burned. Rav Yaakov Katz, Shev Yaakov, Shev Yaakov, took a box of the manuscripts of Ramchal, and he had them burned. And the Ramchal said, let it be, let it be. Finally, the Mesilas Yesharim, against his will, it's the only book he published against his will. He published Mesilas Yesharim in 1740, because Amsterdam was also a center of Jewish publishing. The first edition of Mesilas Yesharim had two haskamais of the two Rabbanim in Amsterdam, Rav David Yisrael Atias and Rabbi Yitzchak Chaim Dino Di Bruto. And if you look at the Haskamas, they shower great praise on the Ramchal. Also, there's a Haskama from Rav Rafael Mildula, the chief rabbi of Livorno. Now, Rabbi Yaakov Bashan writes in his Hakdama that if there was ever a gadol that you could make a bracha on him, shachalak mechachmasai lireyav, it would be Rabbi Moshe Chaim Luzzatto. And as you saw on that production, I just want to make one slight amendation. When the Gaon of Vilna read Mesilas Yesharim, he was so astonished by the greatness, he said, if the Ramchal would have been alive in his lifetime, he would have walked all the way from Lita to Padua. Now this is the Gaon. The Gaon did not waste time. The Gaon at the end of the year would say vidoy on the number of minutes that he lost out from Limud Torah in the course of the year. The Gaon at the end of his life, when his sister came to visit him, he spoke to her and then he cut the conversation short. He said the beard is getting gray. He's being beckoned by the next world. The Gra says that he would have walked barefoot to hear the words of the Mesilas Yesharim. So it was asked before, at what point in time did the Mesilas Yesharim, did the Ramchal become acceptable in normative Jewish perspective? Probably the comments of the Vilna Gaon had a lot to do with this. But, there's a question why the Gra said that only the first 11 chapters of Mesilas Yesharim were written Baruch HaKodesh. What about the rest of it? The rest of it wasn't written Baruch HaKodesh? So Rav Shach said like this. Rav Shach said the truth is the entire Mesilas Yesharim was written Baruch HaKodesh. However, the Mesilas Yesharim is based on the Brisa of Rav Pinchas ben Yair. Torah Mavil Lidei Zehiros, Zehiros Mavil Lidei Zrizos, Zrizos Mavil Lidei Nikios, Nikios Lidei Prishos, Prishos L'Tahara, and ultimately to Ruach HaKodesh. The Gra had a different girsa in the Brisa than the Ramchal. So he only would acknowledge where the Ramchal's commentary coincided with his girsa. After that, although it was written Baruch HaKodesh, the Gra had a different gersa. So this is, we're walking the streets of Rabbi Moshe Chaim Luzzatto, who was, of course, ultimately he died in a plague, and according to tradition, he's buried in Tiberia, which is the city where Mashiach will reveal itself, right next to the great Tana, Rabbi Akiva. So, Zechusam Yagin Aleinu.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.